Welcome to Talent Talk with SSM Health. My name is Becky, and today I'm joined by Jarrell and Michelle, who are going to be sharing resume tips for job seekers. These tips are going to benefit all job seekers, whether you want to fulfill your calling with SSM Health or not. Let's start with some introductions. Jarrell and Michelle, can you share a little bit about yourselves and why you're here today to share some resume advice?
Yeah, so thank you, Becky. Thank you, Michelle. I'm Jarrell. Hello to all our viewers. So I'm Jarrell. I am with SSM Health, been an organization development partner here, and also been at SSM Health about 3 years. So I have been in a part-time role, I have been in a full-time role, I have been in a PRN role if you look at to healthcare, and also I have been in contract positions. So I have been where your viewers are at and where your viewers maybe want to go within writing a great, good resume. And so I think that I'll be able to have them tell us their stories and also land their dream job.
Great. My name is Michelle Russell, and I'm a talent acquisition specialist here at SSM Health. I've been here for over 3 years, and I'm here today because I review over hundreds of resumes every week, and I'm very passionate about being able to share my knowledge and pass it on. And I understand that writing resumes can be a little bit intimidating, and so I'd like to offer any advice that I can.
So why is a resume important, and what advice do you have for someone who doesn't have a resume?
So first off, those of you that don't have a resume, I would say that getting started is the most important thing. When you're used to applying for jobs online and filling out the long application, you're definitely going to stand out when you have a resume. It doesn't have to be super fancy when you get started. There's some definitely tools out there that you can use. I would recommend going to Microsoft Word and just starting off with a simple template, or perhaps going to something like ResumeGenius.com or another program like that.
And also, your resume is that vital component that will get you into the doors of an organization. So without a resume, you can't get inside those doors. And without a good resume, you won't get hired.
And as Michelle mentioned, it's really just about getting started. So once you put that draft together, don't be afraid to reach out to your coworkers, reach out to a trusted teacher or a professional and just say, hey, can you give me some feedback on this? Just to feel more confident.
Yeah, and with resumes, they are always a work in progress. So you are never fully completed with a resume because you will have to keep on drafting and updating it always. So keep that in mind too.
So what are some key components of a good resume? Focus on format, layout, what other tips do you have?
For me, when I'm viewing resumes, the most important thing is format and spacing and making sure that it's just clean and easy to read. I appreciate so much when I'm looking up resumes that when I pull up one, it's just so nice and easy to read and simple. The ones that are really difficult are the ones that are just we're cramming so much information into a couple different pages. So definitely clean format is important.
Yes, clean format. That's spelling. Spelling is so important. If you have been in a career for over maybe 10 plus years and you have a misspelling, maybe if you're going for marketing, you're probably not going to get that phone call that you were hoping you would get. So spelling, attention to detail. Make sure you write down those relevant experiences within that body. So
remember that you have about 2 minutes to capture the attention of the recruiter and then the hiring manager if you make it to that step of the process. And always tailor the resume for the job that you're applying to. Oftentimes we see someone who's applied for multiple jobs, which isn't a problem, but that resume really needs to be tailored for the objectives or the job description that they're applying to.
Absolutely.
You will definitely have more than one resume that you will be having to submit, so think about that.
So let's break down the resume sections for our audience. Jarrell, what is the purpose of the summary section and what tips do you have for us?
Yeah, so summary section, also known as the objective. So think about an elevator speech. So if you have ever been asked, what is your elevator speech? So if I ask you, Becky, or you, Michelle, what is your elevator speech? You're going to give me 20 seconds to tell me who you are. Think about you're about to pitch a proposal for business plans. What are those key components that you want to write down? So your goals and aspirations of the jobs. What can you do for this job? You really want to highlight that because it is that appetizer of your resume. So when recruiters look at that, they only have about 5 seconds to capture that attention. So you want to make sure you're putting all that experience.
Awesome. Michelle, after the summary, some candidates are providing a skills and a qualifications section where they're listing focus areas, programs, technology that they're proficient with. When is it appropriate to have the skills and qualifications section?
That's a good question, Becky. Often I'm asked that question. So summary of qualifications is really an opportunity to match your exact skill set to what the job requirements are. My recommendation would be to definitely narrow that down to about 6 or 7 bullet points. We're definitely not looking at that's something to be appropriate for someone who is a recent college graduate, but definitely for those professional level programs.
So Jarrell, the next section of the resume is really going to vary based off of the job seeker. If you're an entry-level job seeker or current student, you're going to want to list the education section next. If you're a professional, then work experience comes next. Can you cover some tips for us on how work experience should be presented?
Yeah, so I talked about the summary and the objective as being the appetizers. These two ladies know I love food, so let's go within that main course of that work experience. So you are wanting to list that resume within your chronological order of your work experiences. Make sure you list your employment dates. If you have any gaps, if you have any contract positions, if you have any time that you were unemployed, be honest and put that on there, because when you walk into those doors or get that phone call, they will ask you about your work experience and you will need to be detailed within there. They will also do research to make sure that you are confirming what you said on your resume to be true. Also, you want to list your dot points for any of your achievements and your responsibilities. Make sure you highlight those. And I think one of the most important things when you're writing those dot points and your experiences, write down your results and performance. Recruiters love to see numbers, so if you're putting those numbers down, that will capture it. So let's say if you're an admin position and you're assisting a global director, and then you have some direct reports that you're working with, and you book some flights here and there, you're going to write down everything, but write those in numbers. So I would say assistant a global director with over 55 direct reports, and I booked international flights from here to there. So you want to write that down. What about if you've been in a marketing role? You want to write down, how did your campaign influence the company? Write that down. So performance-based results, and also 10 years of experience. If you have that, that's what you want to list on there.
Jarrell, to your point, when I'm looking at resumes, if there's been a gap of employment, it really is important to go ahead and call that out. I would prefer, when I'm looking at a resume, not to question, wonder, because again, I've got about 2 minutes to review that resume, so I'd rather see cared for a loved one, or moved, or travel, or mission trips, anything like that. And calling it out, I think, is extremely important. And I know that a lot of people have questions about that, whether or not they should.
Yeah,
I would say definitely put it on there. Life happens, things happen.
Yeah.
And
we've all been there. I've had gaps, I've had contract positions, I had to list that on there, and I had to explain what went on. And I was really honest and open, and I was able to walk into those doors and get the job for me.
And Michelle's always talking about the richness of a resume, so really adding that texture and telling the truth and being honest. So let's move on to education. This is a section where we really get a lot of questions from job seekers. Do you only list completed application or completed education? What if you took a couple of credit hours but you're not currently enrolled in a program? What advice do you have for us?
Yeah, education's kind of a tricky one. So my recommendation would be, you've worked hard for your education. Go ahead and capture it. Definitely put it on the resume, whether it be certifications you received, military training, a certain class that you took. And so completed education is a lot easier to highlight in the program that you attended. I think the bigger question comes when you're looking at work, like when you're currently enrolled in school. My recommendation would be, if you're currently taking classes, to put work or in progress and highlight that under the program that you've listed. Sometimes I see applicants put like December 2018 of next year, and it's just a little misleading. It doesn't look as transparent. The intention might be good around doing that, but my recommendation is definitely to put in progress to make it a lot more clear. Again, the less questions the recruiters have to ask when we're going through those resumes, the better. And then for credit that you've earned, even if it's been 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, you work for that year. I think that it's important to have that on the resume. If you didn't complete your program because, again, things happen, then I would say go ahead and list total credit hours earned, and that just adds a lot of credibility to your resume.
Sure, not only those dates of attendance, but also the area of study, because it may be relevant to the position that the candidate's applying to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So now, what about volunteer, not-for-profit, or group affiliations? When is it appropriate to add that to the resume?
I love seeing this on resumes because it just adds so much more personality to the resume, and then especially with SSM being a not-for-profit organization, it just means so much that we have people who have been giving back to the community. So add that to the resume for sure, particularly in the cases if you're more entry level, if you're applying for more entry level positions, or perhaps you recently graduated with your associate's degree or your bachelor's degree, because sometimes that's the most highlights most of your work history. But for professional resumes as well, if there's room at the end, definitely put in a couple lines about some of your personal affiliations, professional affiliations, and not-for-profit experience.
And if you are that new job seeker that is putting those volunteers, that is awesome, because that shows me that you put yourself in college and you were actually working with different volunteer goals, and so that really shows a lot for your personality that Michelle said. So
yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yes.
So finally, references. It used to be that everyone listed a few references on the resume, but times have really changed. What advice do you have for us, Jarrell?
So yes, times have changed within those references. So when you are filling out an application, that's when you will mostly likely see that it will ask for your references. So you do not need to put on your resume itself that you have 3 professional references, unless it does ask you to list those, then you will. If it does not ask you to list on the exact resume, then you will need to put resumes or references available upon request. So make sure you put that there. Also, professional references. So this is not time to put down your best friend's sister. Of course, if your best friend's sister was a boss of yours, then add them to there. And when you're thinking about those professional references, make sure it is accurate information that they can reach out to those references that you have listed, because they're going to call those references and they're going to ask about who you are as a person and also your work ethics. So definitely put down those professional references. So let's say if you just now entering the job field, think about your teachers that you had, your professors, think about any volunteer committees that you're a part of. Get those professional references on there. And if you are an employee that wants to be in that role, think about when it's time for your application, if you have a reference that is inside that organization already, once you submit your application or before you submit your application, reach out to that person that you know within that organization, have them possibly pass on your resume to that potential organization. It has happened to me. I would have not walked through some doors if it was not for that person that was in that organization that allowed me to give my resume to them.
So you've both shared some really great tips with job seekers today. Is there any advice that you have that we haven't covered yet?
Absolutely. You know, Jarrell, when we were just talking about references, that made me think of something. What you also want to do when it comes to references is call your references, make sure that they know that you are on that list. I've had applicants we've called references before, and it's been years since that person's been in contact. So they're willing to give a good reference, but maybe they just haven't heard from you in a while. So definitely do that. So other advice that I have, definitely when you're floating your resume around to different companies and doing that networking, definitely want to file an application. We actually cannot consider you as a candidate until that application has been filled out. So complete that in its entirety. And also, job fairs are a great way to network and to, again, practice that elevator speech that Jarrell was talking about. Maximize the job fair opportunities.
Yeah, so Michelle, network. That is the key word. If you not have a LinkedIn profile, when you get off this live feed, go get your LinkedIn profile. You never know who you're connected with.
Thank you for sharing these tips with us today. We hope you found this helpful, and we hope to be a resource for you in the future. If you are interested in seeking employment with SSM Health, we invite you to learn more about us at ssmhealthcareers.com. You can also search and apply via text. Just simply text SSM Jobs to 48421. Good luck on your job search.